All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with someone who is new to the podcast, and actually, I guess fairly new to the local music scene in the sense that you have. I know we'll get into this in more detail, but you have a single that's coming out. It just came out at the time people are hearing this, so I think that the best way to start this off is if you want to introduce yourself and just give a bit of background about what it is you do as an artist.
Yeah. Well, hi everyone on Witch Police. I started, you know, doing the art thing seriously when I was in poetry slam. So my roots are in the written word. I did competitive poetry slams across Canada and was the slam master for Winnipeg Poetry Slam for a number of years. Always loved music. Had been writing since I was a kid, like many of us do. But didn't dive into it or release anything, legitimately until, I graduated from college, did that for a little bit and realized that I really wanted to get back into it. And I left Poetry Slam behind and started songwriting all the time. Met Sierra Noble and we started working together on what's going to be my EP,
Cool.
just coming out in September completely. But this is the first single that I'm releasing on
Well,
Friday or today, or it's already out.
it'll have already happened. Yeah, that's the one problem with recording these in advance, right? You get this like weird delay.
Yeah,
But yes, it exists. People can find it, and at the end
yeah.
of this, we will definitely tell people where to go to find the single, and to sort of follow your music in general. But I guess like I don't know too much about the poetry slam world. I have a general idea of how it works and what it is, but what are the main sort of differences you find moving into this area of creativity from what you were doing before? Obviously, I mean, you're playing instruments and singing, that's going to make a difference from writing and reciting poetry, but just having all that experience in that arena, what is the kind of transition to music been like for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, it's, funny switching disciplines. Like I did have, classical voice training and had been taking guitar lessons for a while, but like transitioning back into songwriting fully, I realized there were a lot of, I'd reached a plateau with guitar playing. And so I really had to sit down and, figure out my finger picking style and really memorize James Taylor songs. So that took some time. The thing that came more naturally, I guess, is like the most intuitive part for me was the poetry writing, or the lyrics.
That
So
makes
that I
sense.
felt, yeah, that I felt had kind of figured itself out when I started hopping into this project. But everything else, yeah, has been a grind, and I'm pretty hard on myself, especially with guitar playing. Like I am, yeah, obsessed over certain guitar players. Like in Winnipeg, there's the Landworth brothers. Joey's playing like blows my mind all the time, or watching a lot of Laura Marling videos. Anyway, I'm blabbing, but
No, no,
yeah,
this is a show about blabbing, so it's perfect. But it's
yeah,
interesting you mentioned the guitar because that was the thing that grabbed me the most listening to your single. I mean, the guitar is I don't know if it's just the way it's recorded or the type of guitar you're using or the way it's played, but it has a really distinctive sound that I don't know what it is about it that makes it stand out. But there's something to the tone of it. I think that just sounds really cool and different too.
thank you. Yeah, that's I think that's probably it took me the longest to write that guitar riff. I put a lot of, forethought into that. And that does take me more time, I think, than writing the poetry, as I said. But it's all worth it in the end. It's about the amount of hours that you put in sometimes in other disciplines, but I'm rambling again. I don't
No,
know.
no, it's it's all good. I ramble
I'm
all the
gonna
time on this
probably
show.
say that 5 times.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and I'll say no, no, don't worry every time.
Yeah.
But so I guess like I mean, often on this show, I'm talking to people who have like a really extensive body of work. Sometimes I'm talking to people who have been doing this for 30 years or something, and they have this big deep catalog to talk about. And this is your first single, which is not something I usually do on the show. Is talk to someone who's releasing just the very first music. But you have I think kind of an interesting story. Related to this single and around this single, and not least of all is like you have like kind of a murderer's row of co creators on this and the people you've worked with in terms of really every aspect of it. Like I was looking at the credits there, and it's crazy. You're working with some of like Winnipeg's best artists and producers and everything.
Yeah, you know what? I got really lucky and I also got really, curious about just, I've been following and been active in the art scene for a long time, even though music is a new thing. And so I guess all of that confidence I built doing that. It's like, somebody knows somebody, and but also, it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm super grateful to the people that I met. I met Sierra very casually at a music conference, and I really was heart set on working with a non-binary identifying or woman producer. And my gut told me, like, was just screaming, you have to work with Sierra, and that is exactly what I needed in the end. And they were a really supportive co-producer. Also, like, allowed me to really step into identifying myself as a co-producer, which doesn't often happen.
Not for a
When you're,
first release either. I mean, that's like
yeah,
a big deal. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, not often. So I was, right in there, doing the song treatment, saying, okay, I guess I'll reach out to this musician and this and that. And like, yeah, I just decided I was just going to hire the people that I admired. There's that old saying out there that you're the average of the five people you hang out with the most. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, then I definitely want Madeline Roger in the room. Just kidding. But like, actually, at Madeline Roger as a person, wonderful person to be around, amazing talent aside, and Sierra too. And it was wonderful getting to know them as friends as well, as mentors and co-creators. And they have artist projects of their own as well. So I was really grateful that they made time for, another, artist's work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I mean, I guess maybe let's just go into the single itself. What can you tell me about the song and where it comes from and sort of what the background is? Because I mean, I know obviously the people you work with, that is a part of it. Like you said, you were hoping to work with a non-binary or a woman producer, and I think I saw in your some of the info about your song that the whole thing is really involved with women involved in every sort of aspect of this. But what can you tell me about the song and where it comes from?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to pinpoint that, I guess, for a lot of people, hey? Natural to not know where the creative source really comes from. I mean, it didn't come from a lightning rod from space, I'll tell you that. I think it was, a chain reaction of thoughts. I'm kind of eclectic. I have like, I don't know, just for fun, like a deck of oracle cards that are based on like women figures from history or like important deities from like various religions. And I think
Okay.
that opening my mind up to those narratives is really interesting and makes me be receptive to all kinds of philosophies, I guess. And Joan of Arc was one of those oracle cards I pulled one day, and then I really started nerding out and diving into Joan's story. And I was struck by how they're represented in art with, they were like, Joan would wear like armor on the battlefield, right? But then there was a lot of art out there of her in like a battle skirt, which is like interesting and this and that. And I don't know, it got my wheels turning. It started to make me think about, what is being a girl or a woman or whatever mean to me, and what are some of the stereotypes I've kind of let sink in, and you know, so that's where it started. And then it's just like, I guess I'll just be Joan and people can think what they think and paint me in skirts or whatever if they want. I don't know.
Well,
Loosely, that's what it means to me. It's just, yeah, unpacking all of those things.
well, that's an interesting figure to choose from to choose to write about too historically, right? Because I mean, like, I mean, not least of all is how young Joan was for all of that. I mean, I don't know too much of
Yeah.
the deep details of it or anything, but just I mean, learning that she was like a super young teenager. Like I have a daughter her age, and that's
Yeah.
crazy to think that someone who made such an impact on history really, and obviously didn't die in a great way, um, at
Yeah.
such a crazy young age, going through all that. It's weird to think about.
Yeah. Super weird to think about. Yeah. 16, leading a bunch of Frenchmen into a battle and then winning, and then basically getting burned at the stake for
Yeah.
doing that solid work. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting story. And I feel like, I don't know, loosely, like there's like, I don't know, emotions we can still infer today from that story, even though it's like they say history repeats itself if you don't learn something from it. I don't know what we can learn from like the 1800s, but I don't know.
There's got to be
I'm not
something.
about to question why it was so important to write about Joan. I just did it. I don't know.
No,
But
that's cool. That's
still
cool.
can
I
relate.
mean, I guess maybe a better question then is what then why is what do you hope people will get out of this song? Like, do you have any kind of ideas of what you were. I mean, I know that once it's out of your hands, it's kind of into the ether, and people can interpret however they want, and all of that. But do you have sort of an idea of what you're hoping people can take from the song, or from just your whole experience of recording it and putting it out there?
Yeah. If there's one thing I could take away is, if you're woman identifying or gender fluid, or you feel like you're underrepresented in your industry, for example, like music, find your mentors. Just like gun for it, gun for people who are, doing what you do, doing it better than you in your mind or whatever. Surround yourself with them, learn from them, and also, support your other women too, and, have role models, as many as you can from even history, and read a lot, and I don't know, just use those figures to kind of guide you, even if it seems like a zany connection like Joan of Arc. It worked for me. But yeah, really experiment with that and make sure that you're listening to women musicians and writers, and reading their works and that sort of stuff. So I think, yeah, that's what I would hope they would get from it.
No, I think that's a good thing to take into account, like whatever creativity is, right? I mean, whether it's a painting or a novel or a song, yeah, finding out like who's doing it and what they're doing and how they're doing it, and kind of getting to know the people involved and why they're talking about these topics and things is, you can't really go wrong with that. I don't think anyway. Um, as far as sonically and what you're doing with the song, this is everyone hates this question. I don't want to. I hate asking this question too. It's the whole like, what kind of music do you play question. And the reason people hate answering it is because it's so hard to pin everything down now. Everyone, I guess maybe because the internet has opened up everything to everyone at all at once, and not to name that movie, but like, do you feel like you have a grasp on what type of music you play, or is it something that's more nebulous that kind of has a lot of things coming and going from it?
Yeah, total nebula. No,
I just really like that word. I say nebulous as much as possible because
I love that.
yeah, it's a good word.
That's a really good word. Yeah, what does it remind me of? I don't know, like blood cells. But um, I think I understand what it is I make now, and right now with the CP, it is very, 60s, 70s nostalgia folk. We're drawing a lot from like Joni Mitchell vibrato and Joan Baez vibes,
Okay.
pulling a lot from also like some bluegrass banjo picking style, but for some reason it's in my guitar now. I don't know, but it's definitely drawing from those, old roots. Like I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to say that it is kind of old-timey sounding. And is that where I want to be in the future? I'm not too sure. I would like to maybe like push it into like, I don't know, like Southern Gothic or blues more someday, but right now this is what it is, and apparently it's quite cheery. So I guess it's cheery, nostalgic folk. So there you go.
Well, the reason I asked too is because I mean, having
Yeah.
I would have assumed that was kind of the direction you're going. That not necessarily cheery folk, but I mean that kind of nostalgic folk based on
Kind
the
of. Yeah.
sound. But having only heard the one song, I have no idea. If, maybe there's like a doom metal song on the record. There could be anything. Maybe
Maybe
there's
someday.
yeah, exactly. So
Not
I'm
right
like,
now, no.
right. Um,
Yeah.
how many shows have you done at this point? Like, have you done a bunch of shows? I know you have one coming up that's a house show. That's like your release show for this single, which is a really house shows are the best shows. Like
Yeah.
if I had to choose any kind of concert, I would choose a house show like 10 out of 10 times. So and it's very good for a folk project, obviously. But have you been doing a lot of live shows since you kind of went from the poetry to the music thing?
Here and there. You know, I was really taking my time with the whole production thing and the writing thing, and I didn't want to rush the live part. I've been playing with some other backing musicians here and there as well, and the dream really is to have a backing band with me. And I do like solo shows, but I feel like I have a lot of balls rolling in the air or whatever. And but I do hope to play more. I will for sure have a big EP release somewhere, and there's other types of shows I would like to do with other musicians, and I'm always looking to play more shows. I mean, it's good practice. I feel like
Yeah,
I have the luxury of having done poetry slam for a while, so I feel like my between song banter is pretty rock solid.
that's important.
There are other things I'm still working on.
Have you tried these songs out with a backing band, or are they so far just been performed like in yourself or small groups?
Yeah, so I've been trying it out. Occasionally, I've been playing with Rory Verbrugge. He plays pedal steel.
He plays with everybody.
Yeah, he's well, I mean, geez, yeah, so good. And then a few different upright bass players. Most recently, Daniel Perry. Yeah, I don't know if this anyone remembers who these people are, but anyway, I've been playing with them. I've been playing with like basically a circulation of different instrumentalists because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the setup even? Is it a
Yeah,
trio? Is it this or that? Because I'm not like even though I would love to be like really rock and roll like Show Pony, like we all know this. It's like it is like down to earth folk. So that's why I also decided to do like a house show because it was like, well, I could do this at a loud bar where I'm bearing my soul and people are bowling at the same time. Shout out to Park Alley's
yeah, yeah.
fantastic. Or yeah,
I figured that's what you were talking
but
about with the
anyway.
bowling and
Yeah,
the
yeah, I don't know. Park Alley's is awesome for like rock bands. It's like phenomenal. And then for like when you're like, oh, be Joan of Arc, it's like, oh, crash.
yeah, yeah.
At least when you're on stage singing it. Apparently the audience can't hear it, but then my anxiety just goes,
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
yeah.
just
Anyway,
just like working with someone like Rory though, who has that. I mean, adding pedal steel to anything makes it sound country. Like even if you're not trying to, right? I mean, it just has that effect of adding that twang to it. How different do these songs sound to you? I mean, again, the EP's not out yet. Most people probably haven't heard them unless they've seen you live. But how different do they sound to you once you sort of move it over into a group setting, even if it's just a trio or whatever? Do they radically change from how they sounded like in your head when you were writing them, or is it still essentially the same song just with added kind of extras?
yeah. Yeah, no, it certainly has changed. I mean, when I went into this thinking I'm going to be co-producing, it's also like you have to hand it to these, session players. These are, really like grade A players who are also composing too, like with you or like, having their own artistic, splash on what you're doing. And so yeah, what was the question again? Has it changed from like in my head? Yes.
Yeah, the sound,
In
the
the
overall
sense
sound
that
of
like
them.
they added to it, right? Yeah, yeah, I think
I guess
so.
maybe a better way of wording that question is does it make you rethink sort of the structures of the songs or anything like that once you hear them more fleshed out?
Yeah, it helps so yeah, a lot. It has taught me to also like take space between phrases. It's so funny. Like sometimes at poetry slam, I think I got this way too, where it's just like verse after verse after verse. And then in music, it's like, okay, we can take a pause and now they can like just do something for 8 bars. I'm like, blows my mind. I'm like, okay, let's do that. Or there can be these moments. Yeah. So that has definitely changed things. Yeah.
Coming from that poetry background, do you have just like lyrics upon lyrics upon lyrics that are waiting to be turned into songs? Do you have a big backlog of stuff you've written? Because I imagine that doing poetry, you probably are writing a lot of poems over the years, and they probably built up somewhere in some kind of notebook or something, right? Do you have a lot of lyrics that are waiting for a home?
Yeah, and the vast majority will probably never see the light of day and will probably be buried with me in the earth for the unseeing eye to never lay its seeing eye on. It's just like, but I think, some of my favorite artists are very prolific and, I'm sure I haven't seen half of their stuff either. And so, yeah, it's been nitpicked. I don't know. Well, we'll see if anything from the back catalog comes back, but I don't think it will. I think we're gonna stick to the most recent notebooks.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Well, the single that's out now. How long ago did you write that? Is that a recent composition, like the lyrics of it, or is it something you had from before?
Uh, yeah, I think I would probably have to check my voice memos. But well, probably 2021
Okay, okay.
or 22. I don't know. Those years kind of blended together, if you know what I mean.
I know. Yeah, yeah. I just discovered the other day that I've been working from home for 3 years now, and it seems like it's been like 6 months. So yeah, I get it. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah. Did that whole situation impact uh, sort of the schedule of when you were going to record and release music? Were you did the pandemic throw everything into chaos for you, or is it worked out well where the timing is sort of happening now?
'Cause, yeah, I think it worked out for me because, when things were locking down, it was forcing me to slow down, and like couldn't get back into the studio to work with Sierra or Maddie, and then a few other things pushed the project forward. I really wanted to work with both of them, and then hiccups came up, and also they're incredibly busy. And
Sure.
so, anyways, there was a million different things that happened, and at the end of the day, I'm really happy it took that long because then I like rewrote so many of those verses or decided actually that song sucks, we should use this one instead. Like Joan of Arc actually wasn't even supposed to be on the EP, but then I wrote it like in this frame of time where things were just like, nope, not yet, not yet. And I was like, okay, well, whoever's conducting this orchestra from above, I don't know. Like, I guess it's just going to be the way it is. But I think that's how I've learned to roll with these creative projects. It's like follow your gut and also try not to rush, even though like you just want to be like, I want everyone to hear what I'm making.
Well, and the temptation to do that now too, because everyone has access to so much. I mean, like you said with voice memos, you could potentially just record it on a voice memo and throw it on the internet within minutes, right? I mean, there's the
100%.
it's so much easier to spew everything out online that you can. I mean, there's good and bad about that, obviously, but yeah, it's good to hear that things worked out in that time frame way for you anyway. At this point, what is the best way? I mean, again, remembering that people will have the single be out by the time this comes out as a podcast. How do they find your music? Where can people, first of all, hear your single and then future music, and then also how do they find out more about what you're doing as far as maybe potential shows or it's a podcast. Someone could hear this a year from now. Maybe you have new music out by then. Where does someone find you online?
Yeah. Um, well, right now, the single's out. You can listen to it on virtually all platforms that exist under the sun. I don't know, Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, XYZ, YouTube, probably. And then you can find me on all the socials. I will admit that I'm still like getting back into the flow of things. So I think I have like 2 TikTok videos, but follow me on TikTok you want to support me because apparently those numbers are really important. I don't know. Not to me personally, but like I don't know. But you can do that. Instagram, I use that probably the most. Facebook, you can follow me there. And yeah, I try and keep consistent on posting upcoming shows and all of that.
Cool.
So you can find me on there.
And then I know the EP is a few months away at this point, but are you planning on releasing that just digitally or physically or both, or is that to be determined?
Yeah, so be released digitally. I think I would like to do some sort of physical copy. I know people are getting back into the like, I don't know, not the VHSs, the tape decks.
Yeah,
Tape
cassette tapes. Yeah,
decks.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna make a VHS of the
yeah.
CP, guys. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. But we'll see where we go. But for sure, it'll be on all of the things and Bandcamp too, so you can download there as well.
Awesome.